partially solved the Undermountain box set mystery.
Okay. Oh,
I'm
good.
still confused as fuck, but it'll be fine.
Why? What's going on?
Okay, so I have two Undermountain 2 boxes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I have two Undermountain 2 box sets. One of the Undermountain 2 box sets I didn't look far enough down into because I opened it up and it had Undermountain 2 campaign guide, and it had Undermountain 2 adventures, and then it had like some trap cards and Undermountain 2 maps. And then I opened up the other Undermountain 2 box, and on the top it had an Undermountain 2 campaign guide and an Undermountain 2 adventures. So I looked at that one first.
Okay.
And I was like super pissed off because I was like, oh, that's what it is. I bet you the Undermountain 1 stuff is underneath this.
Yeah.
No. You know what I found in that big ass heavy box? Because it felt like it had
tons
more
stuff.
shit that was supposed to be in it.
Yeah.
No. Large scale model railroading book.
Okay.
And then like a model railroading, big old thick model railroading catalog underneath it.
Okay.
And I'm like, motherfucker, that's not. So I went back to the
wasn't what I was
one.
looking for.
Yeah. I got all the way to the bottom.
Okay.
And thankfully, now this is the only problem without the original Undermountain box.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm supposed to have in there.
Okay.
Because Undermountain 2 came with like a little mini supplement for the monsters.
Yeah.
Like a mini, almost like monster manual, and those trap cards. Well, what I was able to find, and it's the most important to me because it's like the trap cards and the monster manual. It's like whatever, you can deal with that.
Yeah.
But I was able to find both the campaign book and the thinner adventure book for the original Undermountain and all the original Undermountain maps.
Oh wow. Okay.
So somehow, somewhere along the way, I picked up like half of an Undermountain 2. No, I didn't, because I have 2 full sets of maps, I have 2 full Undermountain 2 box sets. So you're about to inherit an Undermountain 2 box
crazy,
set. And then
how did we get?
And I don't have the Undermountain box, the original Undermountain box, but I have
the Undermountain
like the old ass. And that was the most important thing to me, because I was like, actually, not even fuck all that. For me personally, not even the Undermountain like campaign guide to like run the adventure. The most important thing to me was I was like, I want them original Undermountain maps.
Yeah.
Like that is like the most important thing, because I was like, I can probably find on eBay or even in PDF form, I can probably find the material to run the Undermountain campaign.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'd ever probably run the full Undermountain campaign anyway. I would use that to supplement like another, adventure or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because Dice Breakers was just doing a quick story about they're bringing back some older modules and stuff like that and updating them for 5e. So it's pretty sweet.
I'd really like to see them do with Undermountain what they did with Curse of Strahd.
Yes, Curse of Strahd.
What's that?
A Curse of Strahd, yeah.
So they have Curse of Strahd. They have Eberron. Descent into Avernus, which is the campaign that Neverwinter's on right now, and then that Tyranny of Dragons, where they actually put like the whole campaigns in those like nice hardbound books.
Yeah.
Because when you play, like, if you go back and look at Neverwinter, the PC/console game, their new content comes out in modules. So like right now they just had like they're on mod 19.
Yeah.
And the reason why they're called modules is because it's literally like the D&D modules. Like when they did the Tyranny of Dragons campaign on the game, it was like the lore and the storyline and stuff like that of the Tyranny of Dragons thing I showed you the picture of the other day. So it's kind of cool. So that's why I picked that up, because I was like, if we decide to do something like that in the future, I was like, this is already something that I'm like versed in, because I've pretty well versed in the Forgotten Realms setting anyway because of reading the
Dude, that was like your main
books and shit.
Forgotten Realms. Yeah,
but it's really cool for me because I'm going through these modules and stuff like that. It's like all this shit that I've been like seeing in the game, like Trobrion's constructs. Like that was a thing in the Undermountain one I was just looking at. Or there's like a big, huge map of Willowwood, and like that was like one of like the main content areas that you're running around in the game. So it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, when I went through all of my there's a video on here where it's what are you doing?
Hold on one second.
All right, I'll start talking. So there's a video where I go through some of my old all right, hang on, what's up?
Okay, sorry. I had to search out because I was going to show you something in a minute.
So there's a video where I go through all the old Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing books and stuff that I have in the basement. And I kind of like list off and just like tell random stories. I'll throw a link to it in the description. And I do have a box of box sets, and I didn't go through that. But when I found Castle Forlorn from Ravenloft, that was a pretty cool moment. Because I remember it came with dice, and the dice all in there, and I was just like, oh, this is really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, modules are fun.
I'm glad you found that stuff.
Yeah, I knew where it was. I just hadn't gone through it in years.
I just told
since I moved out. So
right, I just told Amber the story because I was like, you know, when you're like 19, 20 years old or whatever, and you got your first full-time job and you're moving out or whatever. Like at the time, I was sitting there thinking, like, dude, I'm never going to be able to play Dungeons and Dragons anymore and stuff like that. And I felt bad that I was like moving out and leaving you behind. So I was like, dude, you can just take all my Dungeons and Dragons shit or whatever, whatever. Like I just left all that stuff behind. And I was like, but then it was like 10 years later, I'm like, God, that really sucks that I don't have any of that. And then we found it and you're like,
yeah, we split it all up.
Yeah. You're like, all right, we're going to split everything up because you felt bad too. Cause you're like, dude, because at the time, when I left, you're only like 14 or 15 years old or whatever, maybe 16.
No, I was like 17 when you left.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, cool. I just inherited like all this.
Yeah. You didn't even like,
shit.
Yeah. You just like left it at the house. I was like, oh. Yeah. So I remember I took it all and put it in on a bookshelf before I took over your old bedroom, and then it moved into there. It was in the closet and it was all of it. But I remember I should get the guys on here and do like an old school quest recap of certain things. But I remember like this quest just fell apart. It was supposed to be just a character building quest where you're just like, the main thing you guys did was done. Let's just kind of come up on the fly of something, kill some monsters, get some experience, kind of buff out your character. And so I was putting characters in the quest that were from like me and you playing, you know what I mean? So like these characters, they were now NPCs, but they were my characters, and just everything just went off the rails, and it was awful. And I remember going and like walking, because I worked at Arby's at the time, like walking to Arby's after the all-nighter playing, D&D, just pumped on the energy of I'm going to kill everybody. You know what I mean? They like totally took advantage of the DM. And I remember just going after work, just going in and grabbing any box set I could, and this looks cool, boom, boom, and started like finding monsters and finding stuff to just create this like insane quest, because I was so irritated that they like, took this little like character building quest and just ran off the rails with it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we'll talk about that one time. But yeah, I inherited all the D&D stuff, and when I was moving out, me and you split all the boxes up and everything, and all of the books. Except,
was that like Christmas time?
Yeah,
like it wasn't a Christmas gift, but it was like I was up for Christmas, and you like brought like the two big boxes out, and you were like, all right, here's. What
and the only books I kept were the actual ones that I personally purchased myself, because at the time it was like the only, because if you watch the video, there's like scenes where like I'm pulling out like the old like player's handbook, and it's like it falls apart literally in my hands. Oh, here it is. The book that started it all. This is actually, I think this is the original player's. Oh wow, what this dog-eared this thing is. This is the book that started it. I think this is actually my brother's. Yeah. So my brother's name is in here, our old phone number, but our old address is written inside here, so I'm not going to show that. But yeah, oh, look at this. Oh, you can hear it like creaking open. Oh, this poor book. And like stuff like that. And I'm going through it blindly. I'm not even like, no clue what I'm picking up next. You know what I mean? Because the way I stored them spine side down, so the gravity wouldn't rip them off of their spines, because there's that little bit of lip between the cover and the paper. Mm-hmm. And so I kept a couple up here. Some of the older ones, it was like they're like crumbling. It was like they need to be like preserved somehow. That's not just sitting on a shelf,
right?
You know. So I kept vampire stuff up here. I actually kept a reprint of the second edition. Dungeons and Dragons, where they reprint before Wizards completely took over. TSR did like where they were doing the black covers with like the image on the inside. You know, they're kind of bordering it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, me and you split up all the box sets, and then I pretty much like gave you all like the little thin books and some of the older books. You know.
Yeah, I got all that stuff sitting down in the basement right now. Some of it, not last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before, when I took like the big O hit and started buying like that Lamentations of the Flame Princess like modules and like all that stuff. I had like gone down and I had like kind of went through some things, and that's actually what I need to do. I bet that's where the rest of that stuff is. I have a box over in the corner, and it's got all like my new modules and stuff like that I had picked up, but I think I had put some like other stuff, and I bet that's where the rest of that Undermountain stuff is, because I remember getting that Undermountain campaign book, because it's real thin. I mean, it's like whatever, probably like 100 and some pages, 132 pages, whatever. And I just wanted to read it one night at work. I'm like, I just want to go back and read this old Undermountain, because I remember I had this like little playing area set up in my old closet.
Yeah.
And I would sit down there and I would like I was trying to go through that Undermountain book almost like choose your own adventure style. Like I was playing the adventure.
Yeah.
But like not really, because
you can't.
It's the DMs.
It's the DM supplement.
It was just fun. It was just, being 15, or 14, 15 years old, and not really having anything else to do. I mean, back then we didn't have like the all the different distractions that are
when you got
we talked about this before, like that's how we used to play like a game like Final Fantasy VII for hours on end, because it was the only video game you had. Like when you got a new video game, you played that video game to death until like your next birthday or Christmas when you got a new video game.
I know, it's such like an embarrassment of riches nowadays, of like you go to like an old game shop or something like that and buy like 4 or 5 games and put one in, and like 10 minutes later you're like, nope, not for me, and like get rid of it. And it's just like, dude, if that was like back, especially when you buy older games, like ones that you would have had as a kid, you're like, geez, this would have been my only game. Like I still remember Chopper Attack for 64. Right. I always bring that up because it was just like, this is such a trash game, and it was the game I saved up for it. We were working at Arby's, it was around the time we had money, and it was like, well, this is my game now for 4 months, 3 months, until I can save up for something else. I'm playing Chopper Attack.
I just did that the other day at my local game store before I decided to buy that Tyranny of Dragons, because it's a $50 book.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at this, and they're like, oh man, we're getting ready to move, and plus with COVID, they don't really have anybody coming in.
Oh, the store's moving. The store's moving.
Yeah, the stores. Yeah, they're getting ready to close on a lease on a bigger store just down the road from where they're at right now.
Okay.
And they're like, they got rid of their play space and opened it up for more retail because nobody can come in anyway. And they got a bunch of stuff that they're trying to get rid of. And they're like, yeah, go back in there. We got some of like the older stuff or whatever. And I'm like, the same thing. I'm like looking at shelves upon shelves of like, what are they freaking that system? There's a system that's called like fantasy role playing or something like that. It looks like old school, like 1970s.
Was that like the place that we were at? We were next to their booth in at Gen Con, and there was literally like stacks and stacks.
Yes. And so they had those books there and they were like $20, and I'm sitting there thinking like, oh my God, dude, I could literally walk out of here with like 6 books, no problem. And I was thinking back to the old school days where I was like, it was a really big deal to get like a $20 or $30 box set.
Mm-hmm. It was
the bookstore by mom and dad's house.
We'd pull our money together and get it.
Yeah. So I'll show you this real quick because I bought this today. It's the D&D Essentials kit.
Okay.
The reason why I got it is because it's made to get like brand new players in and level them up to like 6.
Okay.
But it comes with a code for like a PDF of like the player's handbook. So if you don't have a player's handbook, or Janice isn't a player's handbook, if she wants to kind of try it down the road, then I'll be able to give you that to you guys, and that way we have the player's handbook.
Yeah, because I'm looking for something.
This was literally $20, so it was like cool. Like
like
I buy stuff for the cast to talk about it.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I want to get into something similar. I want like Vampire in the sense of like the way we played it in my group. It was like there's a very sense of urgency to it. It was very fast, very action packed, and stuff like that. And I want to find a game like that. So I don't know, because I did buy some like quick start guides. So I might look through some of those, but I do want to eventually get some Dungeons and Dragons stuff, so you don't end up becoming the main DM.
Oh yeah, no,
the main DM for D&D and never get to play.
It wasn't. It wasn't a big deal for me, simply because, all right, for starters, I think I talked about and we can like pop a thing up to correct me, whatever, but I think it's called like D&D Adventure League or something like that. That's kind of like the Friday Night Magic of Dungeons and Dragons. That's like the thing where you can go to your local game store, you could like walk in right off the street, not have a character or anything, they'll get you started with like a quick character or whatever, and then you can do an adventure, and they're made to be hour to 2 hour long adventures, and there's always like a handful of people playing. And I asked somebody, I was like, how do I get into that? Because I don't like, I already know all the people at the store, so it's not going to be one of those like things that we talked about in the wrap up for Kids on Bikes, where I'm like going to walk into some blind like situation where I'm not comfortable. But they said all you need is the player's handbook and then one other source material. And so I got the Panther's Guide to Everything. So for like the last year, I've already had those two.
Yeah, you showed them to me.
Yeah. So all I had to do is I had to buy a campaign that I wanted, which I bought that Tyranny of Dragons because of how much I love the Neverwinter game. I just wanted that book just because that book was cool as shit. I liked that alternate art. And then I just picked up the Dungeon Master's Guide the other day. So I've got everything I need to do any kind of D&Ding we want and stuff like that in the future. So I don't have to buy much more. And then if I need source material, we just talked about, we've got, it may be old material, but you just need that
little spark. Dice Breakers has a thing that like Epic Encounters. There's this thing called Epic Encounters that it's everything for D&D 5e in one box, and they're going to produce like 2 of them off the bat.
What is Dice Breakers?
It's my addiction lately. It's a really cool website. And I go to it all the time. I've been getting a lot of like my cool info there. And just
hold on a second. I feel like
they have a podcast on YouTube and stuff. They
have a podcast. Dice.
They're Britos.
Hold on a second, because I think this might be.
It's Dice Breaker, by the way.
Dice Breaker.
I pluralize it a lot for some reason. This is it's a group.
I swear to God, I think I may have just bought.
Did you buy the drink?
I did. I just randomly 2 days ago got a book.
Okay.
From here.
They sell stuff?
Or maybe not. I don't know. No, but that might not be it. Sorry, I bought a book. I thought it said something about dice something on the back. It's like go to www.dice something for like tables and charts and stuff like the free tables and charts. But no, I bought this book. It was like $6. It was like just a whole entire book of random tables.
Yeah.
So like random tables, like you need a fantasy name. Okay, you can go to like male, female. There's like 4 different charts. You roll a d100, and it comes up with a name. Or you can go to like encounters, or you can go to like items in the alchemist laboratory. So you can like roll a couple things, like if you're trying to set up an adventure.
That's cool. Yeah. I might get some of those essential books eventually. I do want to do some D&D stuff down the road, but I think I want to get a game in between there. I want to do either Mutant Year Zero or something. I want something like that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
That's more my wheelhouse.
Don't think I'm like getting ready to like drag you guys in like next week. I mean, this is something that's gonna take me a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be doing Kids on Bike season 2 soon, probably September, and then. But I do. You brought this up, so I have a little pad of paper next to my desk, and for some reason, my works they haven't been able to like stop all the spam from coming in, and I think it's because everyone's like working remote now. And so what I started.
Oh yeah, dude, it's like a freaking.
It's a madhouse.
It's like a pirate's freaking fantasy.
It's so awful. But what I've been doing is writing down really cool names from the spam accounts that have been coming in for like my own name generator. So I already got Kyle Riggs, which that sounds, with Riggs at the end of it's like I already got
Sorry, is the podcast called Dice Breakers D&D?
They might just have an episode of D&D. It's Dicebreaker.
Dicebreaker, okay, search.
But yeah, so Kyle Riggs, got the Riggs and Murtaugh vibe too, and then Lionel Johnson. So I'm getting some good spam names from my future games. So it's every time like one comes in, I'm like, oh, that's a cool name. I'm writing it down. Because they were trying to like match the names of people I work with, and now it's just off the rails. You know what I mean?
A lot of people out there with unsecured connections and.
Oh, we have a secure connection. It's just whatever we're using the filter is not filtering them.
All right, sorry, I'm not distracted anymore. I found the Dicebreaker shit, so I can check it out later.
They're really good. Dude, that website's always like every other day. I'm just popping in.
The only thing whatsoever, and I would have bought this eventually anyway. The only thing whatsoever that I bought for us to play D&D in the future is the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah, and
I literally got one for like $25 on Amazon. Not a big deal. I was gonna buy that book anyway. The Player's Guide I already had. The guide to Xanthor's Guide to Everything I already had. And I bought that Tyranny of Dragons thing because even if I never ran it, like I said, I wanted that freaking book.
Yeah.
Like on my shelf, on like a plate, like I like displayed. I just wanted that book no matter what. So I'm out basically nothing if we never have if I just sit down and figure it out and I'm like, God damn it, we gotta figure out how to do like the maps and everything else. And
my buddy I work with, he's been making
modify.
D20 work. They've been making D20 work. I'm just saying that I'm finishing up Kids on Bikes, and then
we'll have to figure out something that's like an intermediary.
Yeah, then I do want to do a Kids on Brooms, but that'll probably be later. I just want to read the book and figure it out. But I do want to get into a system that's more towards Dungeons and Dragons that probably it just isn't. Either it's Mutant Year Zero or Vampire or something that's kind of where I know I can
ran Wags
or Wags. Yeah, something that's just more in my wheelhouse of inspiration, to make a quest. I will probably buy some essential books for Dungeons and Dragons, some of those like cool kits and stuff like that. But I'm going to give you the reins on D&D for our little campaign with me, you, and Janice.
Right. We've played these games.
We've figured it out
so long that we can always modify.
Dude, we figured it. We played like Kids on Bikes. We're like
sitting here going,
fine.
God damn it, we can't make this shit work with the miniatures and stuff like that. We'll just modify the fucking combat system.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And it's probably not a bad idea to do that anyway, because I still think that going from like Kids on Bikes / Kids on Brooms to like maybe something like a little bit more, and then maybe into like the white or black box, which is like the old school D&D like slim down rules. I still think that going from one of those into D&D 5 or Pathfinder is going to be a huge jump for Janice.
Yeah,
no matter what.
Yeah, the thing that I want to find.
It doesn't matter how many little mini systems and shit we throw at her.
Yeah,
that's gonna be like a commitment as far as like now you got to start thinking about how like your powers interact with each other and stuff like that, and think about things like we had to do it a little bit with kids on bikes because I remember a couple times I was like because of my experience with these games, I was more like quick about like looking at my character sheet and being like, well, I have intuition, so can I do this? Well, now you got to look at things like, whatever, like, oh, we're going to try to beat this trap or whatever.
Yeah.
And you've got like 18 different feats that belong to your character. And Janice has got to be able to look at a sheet and go like, oh, can I use this break magic spell? Like whatever. And it's like, she's not going to be used to doing that yet. So it's got to take time. And this is just something that, like I said,
but hey,
as nerdy as it sounds, even if I don't ever, I already talked about this. I've read way more fucking Dungeons and Dragons modules and books than I've ever played or ever ran. I just like them.
Whenever you're in, because you never got to play Vampire and Shadow.
Yeah, that was one of the things I liked about
at all. Yeah. Like, so you never got to experience because it's Dungeons and Dragons with a different flavor.
Ooh. That's an idea for in the future.
Well,
have you seen Pathfinder's newest?
They have a video game out.
They have a system called Starfinder.
Yeah,
so it's like a futuristic spacey version.
Yeah,
but no, that's one of the things I liked about Kids on Bikes is because even though it was just the like 80s style kids in danger type thing, that's the first role playing
that you got to do
I've done ever outside of like sword and sorcery.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. I
did do the Mech Warrior thing, but that was tabletop Mech Warriors. That wasn't like sit down and like build your mech or come up with your character.
Because when we played, it was Dungeons and Dragons for like 90% of the time, and then Shadowrun. And in the last couple years we played, it was like 70% Vampire, and then Shadowrun was probably like the 20%, and then there was only like a little bit of D&D in there. Because once I moved over to Vampire, the one of the main DMs was gone, and then our other friend who was a main DM started making up his own system. So it was like Dungeons and Dragons kind of burned out, But what's up?
I got a really good analogy that maybe only you will get, but whatever, we'll share it. Here's my analogy with where I was back in my younger days versus where I am now with some of that stuff.
Yeah,
is when I was younger, so like middle school, junior high, and high school, I looked at those other games like Vampire and Shadowrun and stuff like that the same way when we used to sit at the cabin and look at EGMs and we would see like previews for PlayStation games and we were like, ugh, PlayStation, because it wasn't
Nintendo.
It was weird looking. And for me, it was like I was always turned off by things that weren't magic and swords and knights and dragons. It was like I had a hard time like separating that, like, well, this is all like weird cyberpunk bullshit. But then I got older and I was like, holy shit, dude, like I love that kind of stuff. I wish I would have played that back in the day.
And that was the hard for me, because I was the opposite, because once I got turned on to like Shadowrun and stuff like that, it was hard for me to like it's like you can't do a drive-by in Dungeons and Dragons, like no matter how, like, you know what I mean, like how random, like
drive-by swording,
drive a bunch of archers, you know what I mean?
Clippity clop.
Yeah, and then like when music, because like music was always like a big influence and stuff like that, and like I can't have a bar fight with like the Cantina band playing a DJ Shadow song, but in past instruments, it's not going to work. But I could do that in Vampire. I could do that in Shadowrun, you know what I mean? So it's like, that was sort of like my brain broke a little bit once I got introduced to those types of games.
Right.
But what I've seen though of the new Dungeons and Dragons, like with the different character classes and like the races and stuff like that, you can be like a turtle and stuff now. It seems more like it's pushing closer into Spelljammer. You know what I mean? And you could tell which
is another thing. Yeah, exactly. And back in Dungeons and Dragons, I hated that Spelljammer shit. When I saw those modules on the when that was like the new books that had come out, it was like Spelljammer, and there was another setting that was kind of like that. Yeah, and I was very put off by it.
Yeah,
because it looked like space and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, this, you can't have fucking space in. And I think that was my problem. It was like,
yeah,
I maybe equated Shadowrun like I'd like too literally. Like too literally looking at Shadowrun and those other games as like this is like a D&D offshoot.
Yeah.
Where instead of being like, no, you can go and you can run like your Forgotten Realm Dragonlance shit with Steve, but then like another time I could be with like you and Jordan and those guys and we can play like Shadowrun or something like that, and it's two totally different things.
Yeah.
But when they tried to mix fucking space and other bullshit into like into the Dungeons and Dragons, like
it was just
mythos,
like a
it like broke my brain.
Yeah, it was like a mushroom trip. Like,
but the funny thing is that like in Neverwinter now, like I'm playing Neverwinter, and you're in like the previous content was Undermountain.
Yeah,
and you go to a freaking area called Space Dock.
Yeah.
So it's
well, there's
like,
a cover of this. There's a cover of a D&D book out now, or it's recent, that has like a monster, like a character on it, who looks almost like a mech. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like a skeleton, like it looks like a robot, and it's like I feel like Dungeons and Dragons had to push into that weird, like to lean into the weird a little bit, and it's like it's paid off for like the younger generation and even the older generation that are getting into it, of just like when we grew up and played it, it was very Tolkien, humans, elves, dwarves, you know, like, and then creature, like monsters and stuff like that. It was very like a lot of terms like dragons and stuff like that as terms you used that you got from older fantasy. And now with, you know, Wizards own it, and they have this like, you know, well of like inspiration. It's just like, yeah, why can't we have a dragon, humanoid dragon? And it's weird because it's, or not weird, but it's funny because that was like a lot of stuff that we would do in our own quests a little bit as like bad guys, like having like a tiger human, you know what I mean? Like having these like animal creatures, and there was no rule sets for them, or, you know, you'd kind of make up your own power. So it's like,
right.
It's cool. It's like, that's kind of inspirational to me to see like the weirdness that Dungeons and Dragons has gone into, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. They're kind of pushing
like
pushing the boundary. Yeah. Yeah.
Magic Aquaria.
Yeah.
Like a shark crab. What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
like they went to a kindergarten and they just said, hey, I want you to like write down like your favorite animals. And like some dude was like, fucking shark crab. And like, they're like, all right, we're making that a card.
Stealing your artwork.
I don't know if you have a Barnes & Noble by you.
They just opened a Barnes & Noble Express at the town mall.
But there's like this, I wouldn't call it new because it's issue 94, but it's new to me. But they have this little mini magazine. It's called Zero Tolerance. It's like, it's a like an extreme like metal and music magazine.
Nice. It's like a zine almost.
Yeah, comes with a free CD each.
What?
Each one. Yep.
Nice. And it's a
it's one of those things. It's one of those things. It's made. I think it's like made in. It might be made in like Europe or something like that. Yeah. So it's like one of those things. It's like £5 or something like that, but it's $11.99 US. But hell, dude, $12 for an awesome magazine that comes with a CD.
CD.
I'll take it.
I mean, if you find one band out there you like, you're gonna dig it. Oh, speaking of, Knife for an Eye, yeah, check them out.
Eye for an Eye?
No, Knife for an Eye.
Oh, Knife for an Eye.
Knife for an Eye.
You get my notes.
They are. Okay, this is gonna have to be one of those like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're from Sweden, but they are. Remember, was it U.S. Bastards that opened up for Guar?
Yes.
The 27. Yeah, they sound like
U.S. Bastards and who else?
It was Ghoul.
Oh yeah, Ghoul. U.S. Bastards and Ghoul.
It was another band too. I forget the name of the other band. But they sound very much like U.S. like real, like fast, like Motorhead style, mixed in with like hardcore, but not like the screaming, more like the guttural, like gravelly voice. Really quick, remind me a lot of U.S. Bastards. But yeah, Knife for an Eye. Album is called. I can't remember what it's called. Ooh, this is how old we are. Let me look at my iPod. But
that's awesome that you still rock an iPod.
Dude, I just cleared off all.
I thought about taking one of my old phones and turning it into one.
Dude, I love it. I love curating my own music. I deleted all my podcasts off it, like everything, to get some more space. Because we're not driving anywhere, so I'm not listening to podcasts. I'll listen to some here, like on YouTube or around me, but my my listening is definitely gone down. And I've heard that from a lot of people, like tweeting out and shit like that. Like, so it's almost like a weird, like, I'm kind of glad that we jumped to do it this way instead of.
Well, you're talking about that a minute ago about the embarrassment of riches. It's the same thing with content now. It's like,
Knife for an Eye, Damnation, Rock and Roll. I'll put like a picture. Dude, it's so good. And you know, it's a great album. And there's like how many songs? There's 9 songs. I think the runtime is like 24 minutes. It's like old. Yes. It's like old school.
I just pulled up my music, and Eagles of Death Metal was on there, and there was a guy that came up to me at work yesterday, and he was like, "Dude, I ignored Eagles of Death Metal for like years because I thought they were like gonna be a death metal band." He's like, "I finally listened the other day." He's like, "Dude, they're freaking awesome."
Like my wife always says, they're the Eagles, like Eagles the band of death metal. Like, have you heard of Eagles? Eagles death metal is awesome. We started rewatching Sound and Fear? We did rewatch Sound and Fear, which is amazing. But we watched. We're going through and rewatching Sonic Highways from Foo Fighters, and it's just get like so music jacked after each episode, which is funny because you gotta check this. Awesome. You gotta check this. Dude, you have Chuck Berry.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome,
dude. Let's check out this shirt.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah!
With my
I've got my
with my shoulder spreaders on,
in honor of
nice
of High Score debuting tonight on Netflix.
Oh, I'm gonna totally check that out.
I've got my Nintendo.
I feel like
85 shirt.
If this is like the episode you point to people if they want to know what the hell what we're doing, it's like, so we Dungeons and Dragons, music, video games, T-shirts. So,
dude, that movie, that High Score thing, though, they had like one of the best quotes in that trailer where that lady was like, suddenly people didn't play video games, they played Nintendo.
Yeah, dude, in our house, our
Nintendo
house was Nintendo.
The word for video games.
It
wasn't, you didn't say video games, you just said Nintendo.
It wasn't until PlayStation 2-ish that our parents stopped calling it Nintendo. And it was pretty much because me and you,
everything was Nintendo.
Everything was Nintendo. My Sega Game Gear was Nintendo. You know, go play the Nintendo. I think it chucked across the room.
Why don't you play your Nintendo? You're like, okay.
Oh, I'm not finished. Oh, that clothesline almost took his hat off.
I was telling somebody the story not too long ago about how we like certain games you couldn't save. And so you didn't want to turn them off, and Mom would like tell us to eat. So mom listens to this, so not like she probably doesn't know this story already, but that I would leave it on, and then I would put like a baseball card or something like that in front of the light so you couldn't see the red light that was on.
Because now TVs they'll talk to, like, the HDMI will talk to the thing and stuff like that. So if you turn the TV off, a lot of times it might shut your thing down or put it to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and because it'll lose the signal. But yeah, the old RF televisions or whatever.
Yeah.
So we would pop it off, or turn the contrast, because you could actually like change the colors and stuff. But then we realized that you could still see the glow of the energy, you know, for the TV, the energy. It's precious fluids. But yeah, so we would pop the TV off and put a baseball card in front of the red dot, and she would look in, and we would go up and eat, come downstairs, and Nintendo's just like baking hot. So we'd probably be watching TV and forget.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't beat the first Zelda until a couple years ago because I could finally like save it, you know what I mean, and like have a life, you know what I mean, where it's like it's not that long of a game, but you know, playing around, having fun, it's like cool. I'm here. Save.
I have a buddy at work that always says that he never beat Zelda until the internet came out because he was like, yeah, my mom and dad wouldn't let us have Nintendo Power because that was like, you know, only the rich kids had Nintendo Power, so you had to figure that shit out either word of mouth or you had to wait till the internet came out and then finally you'd be able to beat it.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell I beat it.
I wasn't good
Probably
at
just networking with friends.
Yeah, and I wasn't good at games like that for a long time. Like sort of like the Zelda series and stuff like that. I always had like this weird like hang up with it because I wasn't good at them. I was good at like certain other games, but not those type of games.
Yep.
Um,
All right, man. You gonna take it away?
yeah.
We
Welcome.
to start.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to the Scattercast, dude. We're in it. We're deep in it.
We pre-gamed for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, well, this episode was supposed to be, and usually I cut like the intro out. You know what I mean? And start it in a cool way, but I'm leaving all of it in. Welcome to Scattercast. I'm Travis, and as always, I'm here with Ray.